Welcome back to a brand new Full Build Friday. For this one, we're going on a star-spanning voyage for another Starfinder build. So load up those plasma cannons, unfurl the solar sails, and join me as we embark on a build for Long John Silver from the fantastic film Treasure Planet.
Bring in such fine-looking distinguished gents to grace my humble galley. Had I known, I'd have tucked in my shirt.
Of course, before we leave port, we gotta chart our course by setting out some build goals. The primary antagonist of the sci-fi version of the classic Treasure Island, Silver is a pirate captain who has dedicated his life to finding the fabled Treasure Planet. While not mentioned in the film, he's an Ursid alien, which resembles a cross between a bear and a human, though he does have a multitude of cybernetic augments, including a robotic arm, leg, ear, and eye. His arm can switch from a hand to a variety of tools, such as a sword, a pistol, a flamethrower-like welding tool, and even cooking implements, while his leg features a low-grade plasma cannon. He also has that cybernetic eye, which can zoom in on a target to focus his aim, or provide him with thermal vision, night vision, and X-ray vision. Aside from being a captain, he is a capable cook, and skillfully disguised himself and his entire crew to infiltrate the vessel heading towards the fabled Treasure Planet. Silver also has a pet and sidekick by the name of Morph, which is a small shapeshifting creature prone to using its ability to mimic people and items to create mischief. Silver does also apparently show up in a game called Disney Heroes Battle Mode, where he's a tank able to repair himself and study enemies to gain an advantage over them. Despite the cutthroat crew he commands, representing Silver as the captain of them is going to be an important aspect of this build, but I also want to demonstrate his cybernetics and everything they contain. I'm afraid that a lot of that will come down to his itemization, but I do have a few ideas to work into the build itself. I think he also has to be a highly capable cook and deceiver, and at least feature his little buddy Morph a tiny bit. With that, when it comes to his ancestry, I found myself taking the human ancestry, but modifying it with the Beastkin versatile heritage. There was a suggestion on the MM Discord to use a custom versatile heritage with the automaton ancestry to represent his cybernetic augments, but I instead used his human ancestry to take adapted augmentations. This provides him with space for an additional augment, so that he can have a total of 5, and can start with something like a prosthetic limb or a dragon gland to represent the fire that he produces. For his ability boost, we'll be increasing his strength and charisma score, as he's a burly but likable sort of cyborg. Following on from that, we obviously have to take the space pirate background, providing him with training in intimidation and piracy lore. With that intimidation, he gains the group coercion skill feat, letting him remind his crew who's in charge whenever they get a little too disagreeable.
Are you out? Start dreaming! Totally blinking daft!
Just as before, he takes his ability boost to strength and charisma, with the former going to be his primary combat stat. As for his class, Silver may be a main character in Treasure Planet, but we only have a movie, with other characters in it, to get to know him. However, from what we learn about him, I find myself inclined to settle on the Envoy class. Envoys are skill monkeys in a similar vein to rogues and investigators, but their key ability is charisma, which allows them to encourage and lead their companions. Envoys do this through directives and start with the Get 'em directive, but get a second one through their leadership style. After some internal debate, I settled on the guns blazing leadership style, which makes him trained in acrobatics, gives him incredible initiative, and provides him with the Ready Arms directive. One of the reasons that I like this is that it encourages the swapping of weapons, akin to how Silver swaps through a variety of armaments with his Robo Limb. That's actually it for the class features of the Envoy, but at least they get a class feat, which Silver will use to take Size Up. While its function is quite different, this is inspired by his ability to study targets in that Disney Heroes game, and has a notable benefit in letting him use the effects of the 2-action Get 'em whenever he uses a 1-action Get 'em on one of his assets. Aside from that acrobatics his leadership style makes him trained in, Silver's class also grants him training in deception, and then he takes his other skill increases to athletics, crafting, diplomacy, intimidation, piloting, and society. As for his ability boost, we'll go ahead and pump up his strength, dexterity, constitution, and charisma. As an Envoy, charisma will be his main stat, but I mainly see him fighting with a phased cutlass, necessitating some investment in strength. He does also make some good use of ranged weaponry, so maybe I should have leaned into his dexterity a bit more, especially since he's limited to light armor, such as the armored coat, based on what we see him wearing throughout the movie. Obviously, we have to use second level to take the Space Pirate dedication for Silver's class feat, which provides him with some mostly unnecessary weapon proficiencies and the Hollow Roger action, so that he can raise the colors to demoralize his foes. Though there will come a time when you won't want to open with that. This also makes him an expert in piloting, and then Envoys actually get skill increases at every level, which we'll take advantage of to become an expert in intimidation. He closes the level with additional lore for cooking lore to get that skill auto-scaling and demonstrate his considerable mastery in the kitchen, even if the presentation leaves a little something to be desired. While the Envoy's first level might have been a little light on features, third level is pretty juicy with Wise to the Game and Adaptive Talent, allowing him to gain a skill feat each day so that he can adapt to whatever situations he finds himself in. There's also obviously a skill increase here that will make him an expert in Deception, and then he uses Toughness as his general feat, referencing his general bulkiness as well as the fact that he is a tank hero in that aforementioned Disney Heroes game. For the 4th level, this friendly felonious fellow, he features Acquire Asset. This builds out of Size Up and lets him mark a target as an asset in the midst of combat, which can be handy for surprise encounters, especially if his freshly increased expert diplomacy can't keep things from spiraling out of control. And to that same end, he also takes Intimidating Prowess, so that he can really throw his weight around when he needs to, such as when it comes to putting the pressure on Mr. Scroop. We'll start off his 5th level with ability boost to Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, and Charisma. He further gains Perception Expertise, Weapon Expertise, and Improvised Mastery, letting him briefly become a master in a skill. Speaking of, the skill increase goes to Athletics, so that he becomes an expert of it. As for his Ancestry feat, he'll use Animal Senses to gain Low Light Vision, which is just me trying to play into the multi-effects of his cybernetic eye. But ironically, this will be coming from his remaining biological eye. Actually leaned into the tanky aspect of Silver from this Mysterious Heroes game, and took up the Hang in There class feat at 6th level, allowing him to shield his allies. Or, more importantly, himself. He takes his skill increase this time around to Crafting, and then uses Favored Disguise, giving him the identity as a chef that he used aboard the RLS Legacy within the events of the movie. Following on from the Temp HP Hang in There, Silver also gets the Steel Yourselves Directive at 7th level, along with Fortitude Expertise and Weapon Specialization. He does also get his first skills to master with Intimidation and Cooking Lore. Then, similar to his initial Ancestry feat, he'll use Augmented Body to get yet another extra augmentation slot with which to modify himself, and recreate the Cyborg Scourge feared across the star systems. With Silver's 8th level, he'll be grabbing a Space Pirate feat in the form of Press Gang the Soul, which might seem very odd. However, this allows him to call forth a Wisp ally, which is a tiny wisp that annoys and attacks adversaries of our amoral adventurer, and has some resemblance to his mighty little mate, Morph. This puckish little thing loves playing tricks and troubling others, which feels in line with how the Wisp ally functions. Outside of that, he takes a skill increase to become a Master of Deception, and then uses Confabulator so that he can pile up his lies, which he does plenty of throughout the movie in an effort to maintain his identity as a lowly cook aboard the ship. Moving on to 9th level, Silver, our space-sailing scoundrel, seizes Envoy Expertise and Hidden Agenda, which feels very apropos, as well as a skill increase to make him a master in diplomacy. For his Ancestry feat, he'll take Animalistic Resilience to simply further play into his considerable bulk, and the tank sub-role that I'm kind of building him to fill out along with the command of his craven crew. As for 10th level, he'll start off with a familiar looking array of ability boosts that go to Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, and Charisma. He'll take another Space Pirate feat with Opening Volley, letting him blast down the door before he switches to melee tactics. The dual-wielding feats of this archetype don't quite suit him, but stuff like this works nicely and the flavor is impeccable. Speaking of flavor, he gets Seasoned as a skill feat to make him an even more skillful chef, just giving him an edge on those old family recipes, though he might need this level's mastery in athletics to wrestle them down. At level 11, Envoys achieve Perception Mastery, Resolve, and Savvy Improviser, along with that classic skill increase that will make Silver a master of piloting, captain of the ship and all that. And just to help him out should he end up going down with it, he has Die Hard as his general feat, making it harder to bring an end to this burly beastie buccaneer. Taking a quick look at 12th level, Silver slips in Secondary Directive, allowing him to give a 2-action Steal Yourselves or Ready Arms before following that with a single action get 'em, which, notably, will gain the benefits of a 2-action get 'em if the target is his asset. On the skill side of things, he'll bump up crafting to maintain his parts, but takes terrifying resistance as a skill feat, reflecting his command over his crew, his intimidation investment, and the burliness that has allowed him to survive losing multiple limbs. Fortune favored level 13 features the likes of light armor expertise, tactician, and weapon mastery. Following a skill increase to crafting that makes him a master of it, he takes stubborn persistence for his ancestry feat to allow him to push through his tiredness in search of the greater goals that he knows he has. For the focus on fear featured in this full build, Silver grabs Cut 'em Deep at level 14, making it so that the only way he doesn't demoralize a foe is by rolling a critical failure. More importantly though, is that he can keep demoralizing targets of his get 'em, which might give him a reason not to raise the Hollow Roger right away. For skills, we're looking at an increase to Piracy Lore followed by Tech Crafting. Again, just making sure that he can work on his own parts and maybe fix them up every now and again when they start getting a little run down. By 15th level, Silver gets ability boost to Strength, Constitution, Wisdom, and Charisma. He also gets greater weapon spec, legendary improvisation, reflex mastery, and a skill increase to make him a legend in Intimidation, whereas that additional lore means that he'll also be a legend in Cooking Lore. We'll use Fast Recovery for his general feat here, sticking with the idea that we've been working towards for a while, though it won't be the last one of these sorts that we'll take. For our scheming cybernetic swashbuckler 16th level, Silver selects Unstoppable Directives as his class feat, providing him with a means of bolstering his entire crew. For his skills, he becomes a legend in Deception and takes Terrified Retreat. When you're facing a big mass of enemies, this could lead into a fun combo with Hollow Roger to send the foes running for the hills. With his level 17 class features, Silver gains Greater Resolve, Incredible Senses, Inscrutable, and a skill increase that will make him a legend in Diplomacy. Fittingly for a few of the other features he's taken, he grabs Too Stubborn to Die for his Ancestry feat, providing him with a way to come back from the very brink of death in pursuit of his own desires. Looking at a level 18, Silver takes Search High and Low to push his crew on in the search of the fabled treasure that they've been after for so long. And this also just gives him another directive. Skill-wise, he's looking at an increase that makes him a legend in Athletics, whereas his skill feat obviously has to be Scared to Death. I cannot put all this investment into Intimidation, ranging from proficiency to class and skill feats alike, and not take the single best skill feat in the game. We are getting a few final class features at 19th level, such as Silver Tongue, Light Armor Mastery, and a skill increase that makes him a legend in Piloting. He sticks with the feats bolstering his durability by taking the likes of Robust Health. Too Stubborn Die might help him get back up, but Robust Health allows his allies to help him get back into the fight. Finishing off with level 20, Silver takes ability boost to Dexterity, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. With his final skill increase, he becomes a legend in Crafting and trained in Survival. He'll use True Leader for his capstone feat, giving him a free action each round to spend on a single action directive, which, along with his secondary directive, affords him commands aplenty to give out to his crew. The build then finally closes out on Legendary Negotiation, something that Healy's tried to do with Jim Hawkins several times throughout the movie, but to often less unfavorable results. When it comes to playing Silver, one of the first questions that will come up will be when to use your Hollow Roger, which does work rather beautifully with his Terrified Retreat. Personally, I'd fly the Hollow Roger when you're looking at foes in a group of 4 or more. Otherwise, I'd settle for using Get 'em and then Demoralizing to take advantage of his Cut 'em Deep, creating that nice 2-point swing to nail foes with. He can keep his allies in the fight with the likes of Unstoppable Directives and Steel Yourselves, and can pull a quick switch on tactics with Ready Arms. I do want to say, you've got a real nice combo in the forms of a 2-action directive of your choice, secondary directive for a Get 'em, which you'll gain the 2-action effect for if the target is your asset, and then still have one last directive to deliver through True Leader. Now bringing this build into a free archetype game, I can think of 2 standout options. The Sterling Dynamo archetype gives him the machine arm with the likes of Modular Dynamo, allowing him to swap up the tools and weapons of his limb, whereas the Wandering Chef is entirely flavorful. And plays into the role that he quite capably assumed aboard the ship, letting him take care of his crew both on and off the battlefield. Seemingly shipshape and set to sail, let's give this build one last once over before we go breaking any bottles against its hull. Long John Silver is a beastfolk human envoy who follows a guns-blazing leadership style and has a background as a space pirate. A background so prominent that he has become a captain of his own crew who searches high and low for the treasure planet. His beastskin heritage and a few of its feats covers Ursid race, but going human allows us to grab adapted augmentations, which alongside his augmented body, makes him the cyborg that he is built to be. I didn't want to call out augmentations and decided to leave that all to you lot, though he does use animal senses to gain low light vision per some of the advanced options of his cybernetic eye. There's some more augments to help with this idea, and there's the likes of prosthetic limbs or hideaway limbs, but there isn't quite a Swiss Army knife option yet. He does have the Ready Arms Directive to help him switch weapons faster, which does work quite nicely with his opening volley, encouraging him to open fire before closing with his phased cutlass. He's also a highly capable chef, as seen through his additional lore with cooking lore and his seasoned feat, where his investment in deception covers his ability to disguise himself as one. Presking the soul will allow him to summon a wisp ally to resemble his mischievous mate Morph to plague and muddle his foes. I also managed to replicate the tankiness of his Disney Heroes version with toughness, animalistic resistance, and hang in there. He also slips in size up and acquire assets, given how he studies foes in that game to gain an advantage against them. Capable of a collection of curious crafts, this caring crook is a competent captain, cook, and combatant that carves through companies in conquest of captured capital while commanding a crew of craven cutthroats. Please let me know what you think of this build and what other sorts of builds you'd like to see in a comment. If you like what you see here and want more, be sure to leave a like and then subscribe to the channel. You can also check out the blog, which is linked below along with a Twitter and Discord. Thanks for watching, and have a fantastic Friday.
You got the makings of greatness in you, but you gotta take the helm and chart your own course. Stick to it, no matter the squalls. And when the time comes, you get the chance to really test the cut of your sails and show what you're made of. Well, I hope I'm there, catching some of the light coming off you that day.